Good morning, everyone. I'm Joe Abbate. Welcome to episode 24 of Tank Bangers. Today's sponsor is Bultaco East. I want to thank Steve Grandis and Bultaco East for being a longtime sponsor of our Vintage Motocross Q&A show, and they give us some help here too at Tank Bangers. I've got something a little bit different going on today. I thought I would try it on our viewing audience this morning. The show usually runs an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, depending on how involved I get in to a dent and repairing it and wanting to share things with you. I realize I can only tell you so many things about sanding, and you can see the tools that I use, rather primitive, but they all get the job done. There's not much more I can explain after the first 24 episodes. There may be more in the future when that time comes and it's something specific. I'll get into that. But today, I want to bring you a little something that is going to go along with the show. As always, thank you to the sponsors. Thank you for joining us this morning. And let us know where you're watching the show from. You can comment and let us know how that's going. I have a little feedback problem right here on my phone. I'm going to cut that right now. That should do it. Okay. What we're going to do, first of all, let's look at the work we're looking at today, okay? Another 74 Elsinore tank. We've got a dent along the bottom. Not something I see too often. But I am seeing it this morning, and I've got a hole drilled underneath there already. Right underneath here. And we've got, here, I could even show you. Well, you'll see it when I put the tool in there in just a minute. So we've got that we're going to contend with. I'm going to show you how to do that. While I'm doing that, you're going to enjoy an interview with Arnie Beeman, Jim Pomeroy's mechanic at Bultaco and also Honda. I'm going to run a split screen, so you're going to get a little entertainment here this morning as I'm working on the tank. You can, of course, comment. I'll be able to see the comments, and we'll work through that. And if you have questions, I'll see them a little bit later. I'll be able to answer them on the show. So, without any further ado, let's give it a shot and see how this is going to work. Okay? Who do I have watching so far? No, we got a couple of guys. It's getting there. Okay, here we go. Let's try this. At the stage. This goes like this. Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. I am your host, Joe Abbate. Joining me tonight is Arnie Beeman. Arnie was a mechanic for Jim Pomeroy throughout his years at Bultaco and Honda. Arnie also had a lot to do with, if I'm not mistaken, he may have been the founder of the Motorcycle Mechanics Institute, which is still going strong today. And now that Arnie is retired, he is selling multi-million-dollar yachts to the rich and famous. We will be talking more about all of that with Arnie Beeman in just a moment. Stick around. We'll be right back. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm your host, Joe Abbate. Arnie Beeman, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing really, really well, Arnie. I know we've got a lot to talk about. Before we get into it, I just want to give my sponsors a quick plug and thank Motion Pro Vinco, Preston Petty Products, Racer X Magazine, Full Circle Racing, the International Motocross Museum, and Replica Motorcycle Parts.com. Also, everyone, don't forget to keep sharing the show. You share the show, we'll get you a nice sticker pack compliments of Vinco.com. Arnie, once again, welcome and thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Where do we begin, Arnie? I understand, you're in the boat business. You were a motorcycle mechanic. You were even a NASCAR mechanic for a while. Well, why don't we start at the beginning? You tell me about your introduction into, I guess motorcycles came first, or was it being a mechanic for NASCAR? Tell me where it all started.
Well, I guess it all started when I had an honorable discharge out of the Army.
Okay.
Came back to California. Grew up in California, little town called Sunland, Tujunga area,
Okay.
just up around Glendale, Pasadena, Los Angeles area.
All right. You guys listened to the Oni Beeman interview?
And wanted to all my neighbors and everybody own motorcycles, street bikes, Triumphs, Harleys. So I decided I want to be a street rider with them. And my first motorcycle was a 1948 Ariel 500cc single called the Red Hunter.
Okay.
And back in the day, they used that for competition. In the 40s, they used that for scrambles and stuff. I don't know how. The thing probably weighed 1,000 pounds.
Well, there you go. Enjoy the.
But that was my first bike.
And
I got a Matchless 650. That was a much nicer bike. And then a Triumph and so on and so forth. But that was kind of my introduction to motorcycles. I met a guy that was like a mile away from me. I grew up with this person before I'm going to talk about Briar. Good friend I grew up with. His name was Ellis Robertson. And we hung out a lot together. And we went to a NASCAR race together. And stand at the fence, I think we were at Riverside. No? Yeah, we might have been. Maybe it was, I think it was Riverside. But anyhow, watching all the NASCAR boys, and we thought, how cool that was. And somebody came up to us and said, are you guys available to come in and help one of the drivers? And we looked at it and go,
what year was this? What year was this, Arnie?
That was, I think 70, maybe 70, 69 or 70. The driver was Frank Warren, car number 79. And we said, sure. And what we didn't realize, we were having to, in the middle of the race, which we were just awing over, we were having to put big gas cans into the, when they're in the pit stop and change tires. Back then, you had a T-wrench, to take the lug nuts off.
Yeah.
And you didn't have any air tools or nothing. So, at the end of the day, we enjoyed it, but it was a ton of work. We're both like filthy dirty and sweating. And we gave each other a high five and went home and talked about it, how cool that was.
Yeah.
About a week later, Frank calls us.
You're listening to the Arnie Beeman interview.
Come back to Augusta, Georgia, where I'm based, and kind of help me for the tour. So I think we did that for the rest of that season, and learned a lot about NASCAR. Learned a lot about the cars and the drivers, and my biggest highlight was the pit crew gets to take the car out of the pits and go halfway around the track and line it up into its position. I got to do that. That was, that was worth everything, driving a big,
sure,
big Plymouth. So yeah, that was fun. I got to meet a lot of people, Papa Petty, the Petties, Kel Yarborough, all those guys. And the ones that impressed me was the Wood Brothers, which were always known for cheating, but nobody could ever catch what they were cheating with. Always had fast cars,
Now we're talking about the Woods brothers in NASCAR.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, not Gene Woods in speedway racing. I don't want anybody to get that confused and call my friend Gene Woods a cheater.
Well, we don't know if they're cheating. We just knew that everybody knew that their cars were faster than everybody else's.
Okay. So
and they all taught me
what?
Racing was about horsepower. They said you got the best driver in the world, but if you don't have horsepower, you're not going to win. And that always stuck with me.
Yeah,
so
and it's true. So, I understand you did have some experience with desert riding, a Yamaha, but you also got a lot of experience with tuning and with your introduction into dirt bikes from two rather famous names, E.C. Burt and Briar Holcomb.
Correct.
Tell me about the Briar Holcomb. I'm sorry?
I learned that Briar lived about a mile away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And he, introduced himself when he with us, me and Ellis Robinson. Ellis Robinson, by the way, decided to build a stock car for local track up in Saugus. And we played with that for a while. And I think that's where we met Breyer later on. And I found out Breyer was this factory racer for motocross. And he would, really talk a lot about it, but he was kind of a cool guy. So I got to know him. He was a mile away, and I, would go over to his house after work, and I found out his dad, being an engineer, dad was an inspector, a building inspector for the city of Los Angeles. One of the smartest men I ever met. The guy was just a genius on making stuff. And every motorcycle that Breyer got, he would do some trick stuff. And I'll never forget on a CZ, he developed a shifter that you'd only shift it down for shifting up or shifting down shift. You would just push your foot down. I thought it was the most ingenious thing I thought of. And Breyer, I got into all that stuff. And then, after watching Breyer race a few races, I thought, this would be fun. The other guy we met was a guy named Steve Hammer. You remember him? He
the name rings a bell, but not really.
AJS.
Oh, okay.
Factory AJS rider. And he lived a couple miles away. So between the both of them, and they knew each other, between the both of them, they kept saying, you guys got to try, dirt bike riding.
What'd you say his name was, Arnie?
Steve Hammer.
Steve Hammer. Okay. Now I'm thinking of Doug Grant. When you said AJS, I was thinking of Doug Grant there for a second.
Yeah, this is way before I met Doug Grant.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't know what AJSs were or, Zundaps were or anything like that.
Yeah.
I knew what Triumphs were and Harley Davidsons were, So they told us we ought to get into dirt bike riding. So me and Ellis went to a local Yamaha shop and decided, let's buy something that we could go play in the dirt with. And we bought two brand new DT1s and 250s. And we took all the lights off them and stripped them down. And Ellis, he lived on this big ranch, 40-acre ranch. So we made a little track. And Steve Hammer and Breyer helped us to make the track was like probably a minute or so to get around it. And we started there. Then they talked me into going my first race, which I was scared to death of. We got there.
Where was it? Do you remember where that race was, Arnie?
I don't. As much as I tried to find out, I don't know. I do not remember where that race was. All I remember is it seemed like there was hundreds of.
It could be getting a little confusing between the interview and what I'm doing here on Tank Bangers this morning. I didn't really test proof everything. I think I got a little camera mix up. The whole the way it was supposed to be was the Arnie Beeman interview on one side of the screen, me showing you how to work on tanks on the other, you enjoying the video while I work on tanks. That's not really happening the way I had anticipated. So we'll go back to the way we were doing it, okay? And we'll try that little experiment at another time. Let's go back to this camera. I got my mic back on. Everything's going pretty good here. And we've got that dent out of the bottom of the tank. That was a rather unusual spot. Rather unusual spot to have a dent. How something happens like that underneath there, I don't really know. But it happened, and we just about got it out of the way. I don't know whether or not this microphone is... Yeah, it looks like it's going good. Okay. Okay, we're back to our regular sound. We're back to our regular setup. Next time you see a restored Elsinore tank out there on a bike, Take a look at the bottom. Take a look at the bottom of the tank. See what you see along this area right here. See what you see along the weld right at the back of the tank. If it's one of my tanks, it'll look good. If it's not, well, then you know it's not my tank. I'm not having to use the magnet too much down here. In fact, I haven't used it at all. Very close. By the time I get this in the access hole, I know it's right in here somewhere. A little pry on it, you'll find it right away. Got a few nicks. I don't know if you remember yesterday, we were working on that other tank. It had a nasty dent right down here. It was a different tank though. Getting there. Got a little nick here and here. All right, got a few people watching now, I think. Oh, Tim Whitehouse Sr. Good morning, Tim. Hey, Carward. Everybody's doing good. Thanks for stopping in. We're chipping away at another 74 Elsinore tank. Had a dent here on the bottom. And if you're just tuning in and you wanted to see what it looked like before, I can do that. Look like this. Okay, that's what it looked like. I don't know. It's 9:19. That's what it looked like 20 minutes ago. And now it doesn't look like that anymore. It looks a little better. Carl Ward, thank you for the donation to Vintage Motocross Q&A. You've always been very generous with us. Your name remains on the board. And thanks again, Carl. little wobbly here yet. Okay, little low spot right here. Yeah, I might get to this. I can get to this from the gas spout, kind of like the tank we were working on yesterday. So yeah, I might get to that this morning too. Very good. This is looking really nice. I'm going to go over it with some 180 right now. Looks pretty good. Oh yeah, there's a good shot of it right there. Right? Good morning, Joe Ornelas, Doug Dobbs, and of course, Tim Whitehouse Sr. Thanks for joining me today. This is Joe Abbate with episode 24 of Tank Bangers. You're looking at the Bultaco East camera. I've been working on that dent there for just about, 25 minutes now. 25 minutes ago, it looked like that. Okay. That's what it looked like 25 minutes ago before I started the show. Now it looks better. I am going to, let's see, where do I want to go from here? Hang on a second, guys, because I did drill another hole back here. I did drill another hole back here because I have, okay. Let's make sure we got everything tightened down here. And then I'm going to go into something else, and I'll show you what it is. I'll show you what it is right now. Let's go up here a bit. Tilt. Maybe I can get you a little closer even. Okay, got a dent right here. It's a little one, but it's a dent nonetheless. I don't think I took a picture of that this morning, but I'm going to take this hardboard and I'm just going to show you, you know, it looks like a little dent, and it is, but how is it more than just what you see there? A little bit more, not much. Now, we'll take this one step at a time. Okay. In this situation, I could go in with something like this, sharp bend to it, get in there from my access hole. But it's kind of close because of the bend, the vice grip, how close it is to the bottom of the tank. And it's very, very shallow. So I'm going to go in with something straight, like this. It's got a little bit of a point on the end, but I use this for several different repairs. Sometimes I use it from the bottom of the tank and I hit it up to get dents out, and other times, because of the length, I can get it in there further and work my dent that way. But considering this is very shallow, this is long, and I don't have a whole lot of room. I don't have a whole lot of room to swing anything in there that has a sharper bend to it. I'm just going to pry away with this guy a little bit, and it's going to pick it up. It's going to pick it up nice and easy. And I'm going around the outside of that low spot where you saw that the sandpaper did not hit. Now you could see where the sandpaper is hitting. You don't see that halo or circle around the outside of that dent. Now, this is long and it's flexing a little bit too as I'm prying. And I don't mind that. It won't let me get too aggressive with this area right here. I like that. It's only going to pick it up so far. You're going to start to feel, or I'm going to start to feel that bolt start to flex a little bit, and that's okay. All right, got it down to a little bit of a nick or a tiny little gouge. Just want to go up a little bit, just enough. If I have to go back 2 or 3 times, that's okay. Don't forget at noon today. Next time, try this will come up on your Vintage Motocross Q&A page. Got a couple of videos happening all afternoon. Next time, try this. Yesterday, we had an interview at 4 or 5 o'clock with Don Kadalski. We've got interviews over this weekend. We've got Debbie Matthews at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. We've got Sue Fish, 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Something happening every day, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Getting there. Keep the paper clean, guys. Don't let the paper get clogged. Nice and level, but I still got a nick there. That's okay. That's why I get paid the big bucks. I bet it comes out that time. All right. We've got that straightened out. It's looking really good. However, let's get a look at the bigger picture now about the side of this tank, how it looks. And I think what I'm going to have to do, Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this tank around. I'm going to turn this tank around. Give you a better view of things and a little bit of a different perspective. I also need to cinch it down with a, need to get it down nice and tight with the ratchet strap. Okay. So I'm going to show you how much more damage there is actually on the side of this tank than you're seeing presently. It looks pretty straight. I got the big dents out, but actually I don't even know if I don't even think I did touch any of this. I think I sanded it. But other than this, there are no access holes other than the ones that I drilled this morning. So that being said, I haven't done anything on this side of the tank other than sand it. Let's put this like this. Get it nice and tight. We're going to bring the camera around to the other side. Give you a better view of what's going on. Might as well do a little housekeeping while I'm here. Okay. Supposed to go up to 104 in Northern California today. So I got a bit of an early start. I want to keep going here for a while. Okay. Can you see that whole side of that tank? Yeah, I guess you can. And while we got that one dent out. Hey, Joe O'Brien, Greg Dusk, Joe Ornelas, thanks for staying with us. Doug Dobbs, and of course, Tim Whitehouse Sr. Today's show is brought to you by Bultaco East. Be sure to visit them online at bultacoeast.com. Thank you, Steve Grandis, for all the support you give us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A and Tank Bangers. Gordon McCaffrey, the best vintage bike stand I have ever used. I have two of them for over 20 years. Be sure to get a hold of Gordon McCaffrey. He's in the greater Syracuse area, 315-729-8415. He's on Facebook. It was you a beautiful stand like that, powder-coated, TIG-welded, the best money can possibly buy. Big open house coming up October 25th. George Ackerman swings the doors open on the Moto Barn and the Mini Moto Barn. That's at 16238 County Line Church Road in Rutherford Glen, Virginia. So there's pretty much an all-day event, 10 to 4. And I think he has Steve Wise, Warren Reed, and the professor, Gary Bailey, coming back this year. I think Higgins is going to be there too, Barry Higgins. All right? All right. So I've got the dent out here, and I took that ugliness out of the bottom, which you saw a picture of earlier. Let's get some sandpaper on our long board, and I'm going to show you how not so straight the side of this tank is. Looks straight, but it's not. Yep. Can't work on a tank that's moving around. Okay, tight like a tiger. That, I'm sure you do. Now, I do have an access hole drilled back here. Wasn't very big though. I mean, it wasn't too big in diameter. In fact, just about big enough to get this in there. But you know what? While I'm at it, and that's how big the hole is, and while this is, well, about 20% of the side of the tank, maybe 25%, not quite 30. Yeah, maybe it is 30%. Either way, it's not that deep, and it's not crushed. So I'm going to pry around in here. I'm going to pry around in here a little bit, see what we come up with. Not bad. I'm going to work my way up. I don't know how far up this is going to get me, but so far it's working pretty well. So I'm going to stick to what works. Right after I get the sweat out of my eyes. Okay. That's better. Kind of run out of length here with this tool that I'm using. I'm not getting that much leverage on it now. I think this will be about the last little section here I'll be able to pry up. So I have to go with something a little bit bigger. I might be able to get it from the hole I made on the side here though. That's why I've often spoken to you about look before you drill. You want to be able to get to as many dents or as much damage as possible with drilling as few holes as possible. Makes for a nicer job in the end. You're going to pay less for welding. Who doesn't like that? It doesn't sacrifice the integrity of the tank. I may have to go a little bigger on that access hole, or this guy might help me. Remember this guy from the other day? This is the barbecue
This is the rod from the grill, the rotisserie grill, the rotisserie on your grill. Took it off, bent that end up, put a hook on it like that, made it pointy. And sometimes, oh, like today, let's see if it gives me what I need though. I don't know. I don't know. Might be a little too. Come on, where are you? Huh. All right. Oh, I know what the problem is. It's hooked. Still a little low right here. Maybe a little right here. Hang on, guys. Oh, that's better. Oh. Okay. Get a pretty good view of that. Over here, not bad. Right here. Right here, I'm a little low. A little far away from my access hole down here. Pretty much right in line of that little hole I had to drill on the side. Well, would you look at that? better, but it's still got a low spot right here. But here, let's do this. Let's do this. That'll give us a better idea of what's going on here. A lot smaller than what it was. A lot smaller than what it was. Not quite rigid enough. Try this guy again. All right. We're down to a little something that looks like that. Just like to do that so you guys could see a little bit more about how it looks, because you can't see it on the angle that I see it on with the light and the reflection. Tim Christie, thanks for joining us today. Frank Nabe, thank you for joining us, and everybody else. Today's show is brought to you by Bultaco East. See him up there in the right-hand corner, flashing on and off? Bultaco East? Very good. Bultaco East. Be sure to visit them online at bultacoeast.com. Thank you, Steve Grandis. All right, let's get back in here. Got a couple of gouges right here. See them? 1, 2, 3, maybe one on the side. Now, this is where I believe I can use something like this. And I got all of them. Well, let's try and get this one on the side. A little higher than, not higher than I wanted. It's exactly where I wanted it. Had to be made a little bit higher. Little sharp gouges right there. If I start to pry too much, I'm going to get a much bigger high spot. So I tried to make it as high as I could just on the nick itself, which I pretty much accomplished. So I can do this. And it's still high, which is fine. Which is fine. Let me see if I can prove to you what I'm talking about here. You see where it's hitting here and it's hitting here? This is that's what I want. I want it to be higher here. Not here, not here, here. All right, I got a little spot here, a little spot here. Well, I'm a little high there too yet, so what the heck. Okay, we got that one out. Side's looking pretty good. Feels a little wobbly yet. Not bad. Just a little wobbly. This way. Not bad though. I was doing that with 320. I'm going to drop down a little bit to 240. 320 is nice when you got little or shallow but long impressions. You want to use the longboard vertically to expose them as I did in the beginning. But I think this requires a little more aggressive paper. Not moving so fast. Letting the paper hit the aluminum instead of going real fast and skipping right over it. Little pinholes. Well, they're not holes, just little pock marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably a dozen of them along this side yet. Got the big dent out. Will those come out with sanding? They might. These won't. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the ruler out. I'm going to back this camera up a little bit. Make sure you're still getting a good view of what's going on here. Put that up like that. I'm going to go a little long today. It's hot here in California. It's not so bad right now, but it's going to be well over 100, 102, 104 a little bit later on. So I'm going to keep going on here for a while yet. If you want to stick with me, greatly appreciated. If you can, you have other things on your schedule, I certainly understand. It's Friday already. This is episode 24. I'll be back on Monday. But I'm going to be hanging here for a while yet, okay? So let's do that. You've heard me say it before. I like to use this ruler. It gives me this. It gives me flex too. So when I'm going over the side of the tank, kind of flexes to the way the tank goes. Fold it over nice and tight. Now, while I'm thinking about it, guys, and this is just not, see these little, these are just white marks in the paper. Could be from anything. It's not I thought it was aluminum. Be careful when you pick up a piece of paper like this, or you're tearing a piece off, or the piece may be sitting down flat on the bench. Always look at it. I've had cases where there's a little shard of aluminum in there. You throw that thing on there, you make a big pass like this, create a mess. And it really is a mess. Even though it's a little piece of shard of aluminum, it gouges a big section of your tank. It's not something you want to get involved with. Okay? Anyway, as much as your hands as possible, covering the ruler, even pressure, not too hard, just enough to move the piece around, to move the sanding block around, not too fast.
You want to use it this way, cover as much as you can, that's okay too, if you have to. Depending on how you like the sand, what you're comfortable with.
Got a brand new computer out here, brand new computer, all sorts of programs and sound and this and that. And here I am sanding. All right, got that keyboard covered up. Not bad. By the way, this is 80 grit that I'm using. That's what I generally do. After I get the big dents out, turn them into smaller dents, and then I have one low impression like you saw me working on earlier today. And I get to this point where it feels really smooth. Might be a couple little low spots you could barely feel. I get the ruler out, and I start with some 80. Both sides on the ruler. And generally with the 80, it only takes one piece like this to go over it. Then I go down to the 180. I might use 2 strips of 180 or 4, one on each side of the ruler. And as we get thinner, sometimes use more, sometimes use less. But for the 80, 1 is generally good enough.
That's after the 80.
Put a little 180 on there. Okay. Want to be like that? Same procedure. Hands cover the whole thing. Medium pressure, not too fast. Sometimes you find yourself using maybe 180 twice. I'll take this off, put a 180 on again. Why? Because the paper wears out a little faster, because the paper is a little bit thinner. That the 80, it's a very aggressive grit. It's hard to break that down. 180, aggressive, but still breaks down.
And then when you get down to
240s and 320s,
20, with the more finishing papers,
checking for straightness, you're checking for dents. You're going this way with your fingers closed, long way on the tank. Not like this, not like this. Everything feels beautiful like this. Everything feels nice, straight, beautiful. The truth is when you do it like this. I think I could drop right down to 220 from the 180. 80, 180. I'm sorry, 240. Don Zabalski Sr., thanks for dropping in today. You had a good question the other night on Vintage Motocross Q&A about the 10 best vintage bikes from the 70s. Good question. Stirred up a lot of talk and a lot of comments. And the rest of the guys are still hanging with me. Tim Christie, Frank Nabe, Joe O'Brien, Greg Dust, Joe Nellis, Doug Dobbs, Tim Whitehouse Sr. I don't think he ever leaves Tim Whitehouse Sr. I think he's in before I get in the morning. Yeah, I think he's here before I get here. Before I turn the computer on, Tim Whitehouse Sr. is already here. Anyway. I'm tired, guys. But I'm going to keep going. Hang on. We got a couple of questions. Good morning from the Pacific Northwest. Swamp Picker. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, everyone from Fortuna, California. Tim Christie. Who supplies my paper, Tim? I buy it on eBay. And it comes from a place called House of Color. They're in Santa Cruz. So I usually get the paper in a day. Shipping isn't bad because it's like an hour and a half from me, Santa Cruz. And, unfortunately, they get me for the tax. But it gets here in a day. And what else do they do? Oh, they combine shipping for me, too. House of Color. Auto Color Warehouse? Something like that. You know something? Let me see if I can do this. And I'll see if I can answer your question. eBay. My eBay. 3M sandpaper. Auto Color Warehouse. 3 words. Auto Color Warehouse. I wonder if I could do this. Let's see how. Hang on, guys. Settings, print, split screen. No. Hang on, we'll try and help you out here. Now I was trying to find a way to copy link. I was trying to find a way to copy a link, and then I would post it, and then you'd know where it is, and we'd all live happily ever after. Auto Color Warehouse. Can't find. I can't do that. All right. Auto Color Warehouse. I'd like to get them as a sponsor. That would be nice. All right. Let me get back to the tank. What was I doing? Oh, I was going to use 180 again. No, I'm sorry. I was going to. Wait a minute. What did I come over and put on here? 180, right? Yeah. Then I said I was going to drop to the 240. All right, we're going to hit it with the 180 one more time. All right. $240. That was 240. Let's go down to 320. Where's my other charger? Oh, it was right here. This is 320. Nice. Using this very lightly. It's 400. Just kind of blending it all in. Nice. Very nice. Um, paper towels. Yeah. Amsoil. I love this stuff. Amsoil glass cleaner. Love it for cleaning it. Almost, well, it's great on glass. It's great on a lot of stuff. But it is best on glass. It's nice because it foams up. It doesn't run down the window. Okay. That's not even polished. That's not even with a brushed finish. That's just 400 going around in circles. How straight is it? Say it. Somebody type it. Type it in. How straight is it? I bet you Tim Whitehouse knows how straight it is. How straight is it, Tim? Can you type it in? It's as straight as John Wayne. That's it for today's Tank Bangers, episode 24. Thank you all for joining me. Earlier, I tried a little experiment to run an interview at the same time that I was sanding. I thought that might be interesting. It was not interesting. So I won't be doing that again. I'll see you back here on Monday. In just a bit, we've got Next Time Try This coming up at noon. Interviews later on today. Interviews over the weekend with Debbie Matthews, a lady who has done so much to help promote the sport of women's motocross. Sue Fish, a legendary Sue Fish, AMA Hall of Famer, Evel Knievel stunt rider from around the world, Australia. Of course, Hodaka Yamaha, a pioneer of the sport. of women in motocross. It all happens here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a safe weekend, and I'll be back on Monday.